strategies?
I don't have a specific answer to that question. I'd have to spend some program that would put aside money. And I think I had a conversation with someone earlier. I don't know if it was with you, Chairman Story, but it's a full-time job to look at your financial picture, manage your own accounts, make investments. And that's not in teachers' daytime thinking. We're busy planning, we're busy teaching and engaging with students. I can't manage yes, I can manage my checkbook, but I cannot manage my long-term financial investments. I'm not trained in that. I'm an English major and very proud of it. But so we need someone who is designated to help teachers do that. And because we can't in our day, and I guess that would probably be one way to support us. What we have done in Cordova, and I'll just quickly mention that our recent contract negotiations were that the school district has decided to do a 401k sort of program. It's nominal, it's just $100 a month out of our paycheck, and then it's matched by the school district. And the association agreed to sign on with that, but that meant that the teachers who are at the far end of the salary scale have actually taken a cut in pay, because part of the agreement was that we would average the cost of living increase over 5 years, because last year the cost of living was pretty significant, rise was pretty significant in Anchorage, and in averaging it out over the next 5 years, I took a cut in pay as a consequence. But those of us who are on the far end of the scale saw the benefit of doing that for the group. And so, we're doing our part. And I think in talking this out right now, that probably one of the things is that you have financial advisors that would have specific information for teachers on how we can map out our careers and our financial future.
And I was going to add to that. I've sat on the negotiations team for a number of years, and I was one of the most amazing teacher negotiations. We did actually hold it for a year because we didn't know what the state was doing with the funding. That's one of the things. We don't know what's going on, to budget forward. Like cutting the ferry system after we budgeted, we had to come up with $150,000. But one of the things that teachers did in the contracting, and it was so beautiful, is the fact that they identified that we're losing young teachers because this particular retirement system is incentivizing teachers to leave after 5 years. I don't know if people realize that. So we're actually creating a program to incentivize teachers to leave the state. We lost Ben Walker, state of Alaska teacher. So this year, the school district is set up a program to put $100 and match the teachers. Whatever they put in, the district will put in. And then I'm sitting there going, you guys aren't going to see that money for 20 years until you retire. You're actually taking money out of your paycheck to put aside for savings. So, it's absolutely mind-boggling where we've gone. So I really appreciate the teachers, the older staff, actually sort of took a little bit of a cut in their paycheck, and we're benefiting so we can retain some of our teachers. So Cordova School District, we're very fortunate to have such long-term staff members staying with us. We're a relatively stable district, but we couldn't find an appropriate PE teacher this year.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for the work that you do on behalf of our students and our entire state.
I just wanted to make one comment and to maybe help clarify a few things for maybe the public that's watching. I know everyone in the room is aware of it. When we changed the defined benefits in 2006 to be a defined contribution only, teachers do not have a supplementary benefit system, but teachers also do not qualify for Social Security in the state of Alaska. And so teachers Many private business people just have like a 401k is what we do, but they also have Social Security. And so if the bottom fell out of the market, at least many people have Social Security, but our teachers in Alaska, if you came here after 2006, have nothing except for defined contribution. Representative Hopkins.
Thank you, and I want to thank you, Ms. Adams, for a long career serving all of our kids and helping teach them, seeing them come through. I know my teachers who also taught me. I was, of course, not to age everybody in the room, born the year you started teaching. I still see my teachers around Fairbanks and work for them. But, you know, when we talk about money that gets directly into the classroom, money that is coming out of the base student allocation to support PERS and TERS and healthcare in these in the school districts, that is money that gets directly into the classroom, because that is money that goes to the teachers who are in the classroom, the professionals in our classroom teaching our students. So if we're going to start putting more of the healthcare costs on the backs of our teachers and more of the retirement costs on the backs of our teachers, Fairbanks School District also just negotiated the 403B into their negotiated agreement with their support staff and their classified staff or certified staff. That was specifically also allowed Tier 3 teachers to be able to cash out their sick leave and put it into that 403B, because there is no incentive to just stay on the work site because they lose all of that sick leave at the end of their career. If they use it or lose it, well, previous tiers of retirement could put that towards their retirement once they retire. But saying that supporting our teachers and paying our teachers out of the base student allocation that is the main driver for school district budgets is not putting money directly into the classroom in front of our students, I guess I have a somewhat of a problem with, because that is the feedstock that we put into our classrooms is our teachers, and supporting them monetarily in all these ways is how we retain our teachers past 5 years. And after they get tenure and after they become actual masters at their craft, watching them leave because we're not paying them well is exactly how we should be putting money into our classrooms directly. So I appreciate the negotiations you guys have done. I appreciate the give-backs you've done as well in those negotiated agreements to help you support the young teachers and try to incentivize them. And I hope future generations of teachers that come up know that work that you guys did when the time comes. So thank you for that. And hopefully we can figure out something here to get some revenue, get some predictable funding to you guys so you can continue to do the great programs and great work that you do.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
I'm going down the list here. I next have Richard Lee from Kishinamute School District. Don't know if he's still here or wishes to testify.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. Yes, I am. I'm the superintendent of the Kishinamute School District. We are going through the process of hiring a new superintendent. I'm in interim status as I came out of retirement to assist the district when they asked me to. Our community is experiencing extreme financial issues. The district has had some issues financially in the past that they are paying for and trying to catch up, and we are trying to get as many grants as we can, and also to address any future funding needs. And one area that is particularly difficult is finding teachers who will come to rural Alaska and stay more than a year or two. And that is very, very difficult. Nowadays, our districts do not compare financially with most of the lower 48 school districts. So it is difficult. In past eras, there was a bit of adventure. Come to Alaska, be a teacher, experience Alaska, that kind of thing. The salaries were a little bit higher, and it made it easier to get people to come up. Nowadays, we don't compare financially with districts in the lower 48. They don't have much incentive to come up and try out living in rural Alaska and working for our students. So it's just very, very difficult. Did you have any specific questions for me?
Could you put your name on the record, please? I think.
I'm sorry, Richard Lee, Cassunamutte School District.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay. I have Kay Andrews from the Southwest Region School District said she wishes to testify.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kay Andrews with the Southwest Region School District. I appreciate you having this session with the school boards while we're here. So thank you for taking your time to hear from us. As the room was full, I wasn't able to hear all of the testimony, but I certainly appreciate, and I'll just to speak to some of the issues. I don't want to repeat. I know that you are well versed in education. That's why you do what you're doing, and I just want to thank you so much for the work that you do on behalf of the children across Alaska. Thank you. In Southwest, didn't have the opportunity yet to review the education bills. We'll be having a work session soon, so we hope to make a written statement to you to help support those bills, or not support those bills. One area that we're concerned with is the Alaska Readings Act. Although we can't argue that we want to have, reading. Reading is good for our children. The reading and the other areas in that bill. I guess what concerns me is the assessments that would be required in that bill. For example, to have IEPs every 2 weeks, that it's not realistic. You're talking about reading specialists, that's a mastery subject area, and if you go to the job fairs today, you'll be lucky if you find one. We would need 8 for our district. So that's just one area. The curriculum, how would that look like? The impact on the existing pre-K programs across Alaska, and even the private ones that we don't have in our district, but that concerns us as well, because I've been a long time proponent of pre-K for a long time, and continue to be so. Maybe we wouldn't be at this Readings Act if we had a universal pre-K system today. So as you move forward, and I understand the situation today with the state and the funding, but as you move forward, please keep that on your foresight, because I think we need to get there wholly across the state of Alaska. So another area, if we were able to find the reading specialists, where would we put them? In our area, we have critical housing need. We have a critical housing need. As you know, just the facilities and maintenance alone on our facilities is tremendous. And I'm sure across the state, all schools have experienced with the weather changes, the extreme weather that we've been having. It's costly. These are unpredictable costs that we do not foresee, but try to plan as best as we can. But I don't know why I kind of got sidetracked on that. But so again, we know that in Alaska, only 30% are proficient in reading, right? So that means that 7 out of 10, we would be needing that in order to get that database reporting. It's just not realistic to do that. It would affect other subject areas. other subject areas of reading. I mean, if we're going to, are we going to become reading specialist schools? Because that's where the pressure is for our district. We already have multiple teachers. We have principal teacher. We have teachers that are teaching 2, 3, 4, 2 and 3. You know, they're teaching multiple grades, multiple levels, and to put that added pressure for reading special on them is just too much. And you know, there's a shortage. It's not just in Alaska. It's on a national level for as far as teachers. And how do we? And I'm glad to hear some of the stories. How ideas are coming forth to bring that. You know, like with the ICER study that was recently done, which was a good information. And I think one of the key things out of that is, what are we doing to retain our teachers? You know, locally, what are we doing? Because if we're not doing those healthy, good exit interviews and not being afraid of what those answers are from the teachers, we need to get there. And I don't know what that answer is, but I hope you could help us with that. We need to figure out what that is and do our best to support our teachers. I know that it's difficult in the rural areas, you know, with again the housing, the close-knit relationships, you know, the list goes on. But I do feel like you're on the right track as far as looking at all these things in the various bills that you have before you.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Andrews. And I know you've served many years your district, and I know there's many people in the room who have served their students many years, and we appreciate your commitment to our youth. Did we have any questions? Representative Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your work at your school district over all these years and bringing these concerns to our table. However you feel after you look at the Alaska Reads Act, please make sure that you voice your opinion personally or for your school district when there's the opportunity for public testimony as well. We need to make sure we hear from educators and school boards across the state who are going to be implementing this huge bill. So please make sure your voice is heard, and thank you for coming forward with that. You mentioned exit interviews, and that's something I've heard about for a long time, and I know a lot of districts are not able to pull off those exit interviews. Does the Southwest Region School District do exit interviews with your teachers at all, or do you have any record of that?
We do, but I think there needs to be a different kind of an exit interview. I think it needs, we do, but I think we need to look at what would work best. And I'm just a layperson. I'm not a professional, so, but yeah, thank you for your question.
Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Andrews. I really appreciate your perspective. First of all, on not being able to hear the testimony, you are permanently archived now on Basis, and you can go back and listen to the whole thing once the meeting is over. We even have the gavel camera in here, so we have even better coverage than just the web streamed cameras in the ceiling. I agree with you. The Alaska Reads Act is large and complex, but actually the intent is to end up with universal pre-K. It's too far down for my taste. I would love to institute universal pre-K yesterday, but that is the goal of that bill, and it's hard to discern, and it's still under a great deal of development. It's still over in the Senate, and I know when it won't even come over here until they're satisfied with it and the Senate passes it. So do, as Representative Hopkins said, do express your concerns about that along the way. I hate to say it, I'm not sure what communities Southwest Region School District represents. Could you?
We're in the Dillingham census area, Togiak, Twin Hills, New Stuyahok, Manicodic, Alakanigik, Clarks Point. I hope I did Ekwok.
So you're
Yeah.
around Dillingham, but Dillingham has
Dillingham
its own
census
district,
area.
and you're around Dillingham,
Yes.
but probably the offices are in Dillingham.
Yes,
Your
the,
office.
the main office is in
Great.
Dillingham.
Now I have an idea of where you are. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say that I missed someone from the Kishinemet School District who wanted to testify, and that was John Atschmick. If John could come forward, please. And then after that, we had the Bethel School District, who follows this one.
Good morning. I'm John Etchick. I'm from Chivac, Kishinemet School District, and you heard from our Superintendent Richard Lee, and I'm surprised to see both Harriet and you for heading this education committee. It's appropriate that you guys are here because you guys are my former colleagues, and I remember you guys well, and you guys are most effective. Were most effective during when we were colleagues in AASB.
Yes.
So I'd like to thank you guys too for hearing us all. I just want to tell you guys a success story back in Chivac. Back then, it happened over 25 years ago when I first became elected. And now we have another school right now. I had my kids that are grown up now. I brought them up 8 a.m. for breakfast in the school, and then me and my wife were with our kids in the commons, and then after my kids got their food, a little small kid came to me, and in our language we try and exercise our language within the family members, and I knew my kids were fluent in understanding, but were reluctant to say it out in our language. So when in the morning in the commons, when I came across a little kid holding a tray, I asked that little kid, that means, do you want help? And he looked at me really surprised, and it broke my heart when he said, I don't understand you. And I thought he was kidding, because my kids are fluent in understanding our language, and this little kid, I thought he was joking around with me, because he didn't understand. He knew how to speak in English, but that was a time when we were leaving behind our language, especially to the young kids. So I got really sad at that moment. From there on, I thought of what can I do to help this little kid become fluent in our language that's been carried on for over 200 years. And it took a while to get that immersion language program going, and I had quite a bit of opposition starting that, and I had a lot of help too. So we started that, but in the past it has gone up and down in terms of what grades are being covered. Right now it's kindergarten, first, second, and third. Nothing but in our language, we got 2 certified, highly qualified Chippewa teachers, epic Chippewa teachers. They're already in there with the classroom, and during the school year when we opened up the school, back then when we first started, we interviewed the parents if they want their child to be educated in Western style or our Chippewa style. 100% of the parents chose Chippewa style. I mean, it's mainly focused to bring up our language and get educated in our language. I don't have any problem with Western style of education. In fact, I support it. I support both of them. And the good thing about that language program that we brought up is these kids have homeworks to do, and at the same time they're educating their parents who are not speakers. They might fluently understand the language, but they won't speak it in their language. They'll speak it in English. So these little kids are taking home and educating their parents at the same time, and that puts a real smile on my face. So also we have a high school. We're trying to cover high school sections on language, culture. We have a classroom. One of the teachers is here for the high schools as a chaperone, but I think this could be enough to introduce her because we're trying to tackle language right now because it's statewide. I think that we're losing our language, and it kind of opens up one of your brain cells back here. Because if you look at the situation, you think in two thoughts: Western style and our way. So when you look at the problem, you're looking at both ways. Instead of one way, you're looking at both sides. So it kind of helps us, and we're trying to tackle our district score-wide tests by the state that gives out status of where the school is. So I'm predicting that we're going to have higher scores later on in the years because of that. And we're also talking about, as of right now, to expand.
And everybody needs to take a look at this man's cuss puck. In 8 years, this is the most beautiful cuss puck I've ever seen in this building, and especially the back.
Yeah, a person from my wife's cousin made it from Mountain Village.
Love it. I just love it. A second language is the smartest thing you can do for your children. It is critical to brain development. It enhances their brain development. And the younger you start that second language, the better. And I'm glad to see the benefits coming to your community in many ways, including retraining the parents who have lost their language. That is absolutely wonderful. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with a second language. It just improves everybody's mental health and mental acuity. I'm really pleased to hear that. And I'm glad you were alarmed at that young person's lack of knowledge of his own language. So that was a surprise for you, but I'm glad
It's a true story.
took it and ran with it. It's excellent. Thank you.
Yes, and one more thing. You guys are all invited to my community of Chivac if you guys are ever around Bethel. So it's only like an hour's ride from Bethel. So you guys are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I had said Bethel is next if they would like to go, but I also just noticed that they did not say that they wanted to testify, but if someone's here from Bethel, please come forward. And then I just wanted to tell the audience that we have 30 minutes left of our time with you, so thank you. And please introduce yourself and your name for the record.
My name is Ethan Sundown. I'm from Bethel, Alaska, and I'm representing the Lower Kuskokwim School District. I'm here to testify in support for House Bill 181. I'd like to make my comments on that. Just to, if you don't have we're all busy people, so I want to give you some perspective as to some events that recently happened in Bethel. December 10th, that morning around 1 o'clock in the morning, the elementary school teacher for the Gladys Jung was arrested. Nobody knew why, nobody knew. All we knew is that he was arrested. Later that day, we found out that he was arrested by FBI Child Exploitation Services. And when you're arrested by that branch, there's only a couple things that you could have done to attract that attention. So, if you haven't connected the dots yet, he was arrested for explicit photos, basically child pornography, all these really, really horrible stuff. And so, you know, when I was reading this bill, House Bill 181, it really struck a chord with me because, you know, with everything in this life, it's beautiful, it's diverse, but it's also crazy, it's chaotic, it's unpredictable, and that's just a fact of life. And it's how, you know, our mental health is how we perceive and deal with the crazy, beautiful things life gives us. And so what I'm trying to say is I think this would really help a lot of the people in Bethel still affected by this huge, because nobody saw this coming. Nobody suspected the elementary school teacher to have done this. And, you know, there was also some other things happening. There was a school shooting threat. The evidence is, you know, it's shaky, but it's what happened. It was a major effect on our school. There was a week where kids really just didn't show up because they were afraid that, you know, the same thing that would happen in 1997 happened. You know, and there's still parents that are recovering from that. So to me, when I hear, you know, this emphasis on mental health and all this crazy stuff that just happened to us, you know, it's awesome because for my peers, you know, there are victims with everything, and to me it just seems like a way to help them, and that's really what we should all do. Community wise, it'll, like I said, it'll just help us, and for me personally, it'll just help me become a better. And this bill, I feel like it would provide that, and done right, it would be amazing. So to me, maybe to someone who already maybe has this or is privileged enough to have these people in my life, it would just help us become better human beings. It would teach me how to listen better. It would teach me, because I'm assuming if implemented, it would be a class of some sort. Let's just say it was that. It would help me become a better listener. It would help me become a better peer to my classmates if they came and they said, Ethan, I need help, or even anybody else, I need help. It'll help us say, all right, let's talk about it. Let's get down to the bare, because some kids, they don't want to talk to, they don't feel comfortable talking to adults. So peers are really great. So it teaches peers how to be better human beings. And I think that's what we need right now.
Thank you. Any questions? Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan, you're a student in
Yes,
Bethel,
ma'am.
at the Bethel Regional High School.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm sorry Representative Zulkowski is not in the room. She was in the 7th grade on the day that school shooting happened in 1997. Right. And I didn't even know it because she had not yet been appointed. Legislature several years ago. But we were all commenting after the Parkland school shootings, and I remembered that Bethel happened. It happened before Columbine, a year and 3 months, I believe, before Columbine. And it's been Alaska's only shooting, and we intend to keep it that way. And I appreciate your perspective on that as a student. And I also appreciate your input on House Bill 181. I think that's a signal to us, Education Committee, we need to get done with this budget stuff and get on to hearing bills, because this one is a really important one, and we're hearing the requests from the community that we need this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, too, for testifying. I have one other person who said yes, they'd like to testify on this list, and that is from Heidelberg, Bart. I'm sorry, I cannot read the last name. So please come forward and introduce yourself and your name for the record.
Sometimes people ask if I'm sure that's the way I spell my last name. My name is Bart Mari, and I'm from Heidelberg. I'm the superintendent there. I'm a second-generation Alaska educator. My dad taught back in 1947. And if you know Al Kukash, he was in kindergarten when my dad taught him. And I have been crisscrossing the state from Kodiak all the way up to Barrow, down to Metlakatla, and now I'm in Heidelberg. And I want to just share that the educational landscape, especially in the social-emotional area, has drastically changed since I've been a student, graduated from Kodiak High School, and then being an educator. I have about 84 students in Heidelberg, but it feels like 300. The kids are great. One-on-one, they're really great kids. But with the introduction of technology, where we thought cell phones was helping us deal with some of the behaviors, they're actually creating a lot more problems for us than before. And so we're toying around with I want to speak to the bill on social emotional. We're toying around with the idea of implementing a school-wide or school-based mental health program, because the type of problems that we're dealing with in our school is over and beyond what the teachers and the regular counselors can deal with. And we need therapists, we need expertise. Many of our children do not have the parental support, where in the past we used to call parents, we come in, we sit down and we deal with the behavior. None of that really exists in many of the villages anymore. So I would like to speak in support of that bill. I also want to speak to the Alaska Read bill. We just started a language immersion program. And as we were introduced to the bill, I kept wondering, how the heck are our students going to be tested in preschool when they're just learning the language and that's the only language that's spoken in that classroom? How are we going to test those students and measure their progress when what parents have been telling me is when they speak to these kids, when they come home, they speak back to them in Haida instead of in English. So I see a problem with that bill, with trying to see the progress of students in immersion programs. I also see a problem in the retention piece. Most of the research I've seen and read speak to the fact that retention doesn't really help the children. I've started schools. I started the first charter school in the state, first 2 charter schools in the state, basically to deal with some of the kids that did not have their educational needs in the regular school system. So we created the Takana Training Center and the Project Education Charter School in Galena, which is now Gila. And most of our issues then had to do with the different types of delivery that is given to kids. And many of the kids perform a lot better with hands-on projects and things like that. And that's what we're doing in Galena, in Heidelberg, trying to see how our kids fit into the educational system. So we have a United Front organization in the community where we meet and decide what to do and define responsibilities for the tribe, the city, the corporation, and the school. And our task was to make sure that we meet the labor needs of the community. And so our students have been involved with building homes for teachers. They're involved with helping out in the community with community service type of programs. On weekends now, they've been pressure washing our gym to make it look nicer. So they're trying to do facelift, picking up the garbage around. So I'm just kind of wondering, how we can better support funding the school systems so that we can let the district design and figure out a way that we can locally deal with the problems that we have. So, going back to the Alaska Read bill, where we prescribe curriculum from the department level or state level, it really is hard for us to implement that type of top-down approach to the issues and problems that we deal with the local kids that we have. And I want to thank you for all your support for education all these years, and continue to be partners with you and count on your support for the two bills that I talked about.
Thank you. Being partners is so important. Thank you for painting the wide variety of needs that our young people have, and thank you for your work on them. Any questions? Representative Hopkins?
Thank you. Just a quick statement, and thank you, Superintendent, for your multi-generations of work trying to teach Alaska students, and including Senator Kukesh. Great job representing your district. The United Front Committee sounds like a very good and strong organization to bring all the areas in a small community together. And just a quick urge, when and as the Alaska Reads Act bill evolves, keep following it, but please, when there's an opportunity for public testimony, and I've said this to every district that's come forward, make sure you voice your concerns or support, whatever you feel about that district, at that public testimony option, because we need to hear from those who are going to be implementing it. So as the bill evolves, if you support it, if you have specific concerns, please make sure we hear those when it comes to public testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we do have a...
All right, I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today, exposing the corruption that we have in our legislation being in Juneau. This is an ultimate example of why we need to move our legislators into Anchorage, Willow. I don't care. It could be anywhere in between these locations, just to get them where the majority of Alaska can be able to come to these meetings, and not just the special interests that you all got to see today, who flew in from multiple different locations around the state to be able to sit and have unlimited time talking to the legislators in charge of passing the bills that is costing our state to continue to have a pork-filled, bloated budget. Don't forget to share. Facebook squeals on you if you don't share. Have a great day.